Mr. Raskin is now recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Buffalo, Uvalde, Sandy Hook, Tree of Life, Mother Emanuel Church, El Paso, Walmart, Pulse Nightclub, Las Vegas, Columbine. The bloodbath continues. In the history of our species, a number of civilizations have practiced or allowed human sacrifice, including the sacrifice of children. The Carthaginians, the Mesopotamians, the Incas, the Aztecs. Will we be recorded as such a society that accepts the sacrifice of innocence? Gun violence is the #1 cause of death of children in the United States of America today, which makes us globally unique. We have rates of gun violence and gun death 20 times higher than other industrialized nations like France, the United Kingdom, Israel, Norway, Sweden, Japan. No other nation comes close to what we see here, even though we have comparable levels of mental health problems and mental illness. Will we continue to accept the slaughter of innocents, including innocent children, as acceptable collateral damage for loyalty to a completely bogus and distorted misreading of the Second Amendment and what the Supreme Court has said about it? Justice Scalia in the Heller decision was emphatic that reasonable gun safety regulation is perfectly consistent with the Second Amendment right. Justice Scalia said he specifically rejected the view advanced by a number of our colleagues today, saying that the right of gun ownership is not unlimited. No, Justice Scalia stated the Second Amendment right is, quote, not a right to keep and carry any weapon whatsoever, in any manner whatsoever, and for whatever purpose. He enumerated a partial list of reasonable regulations, including a ban on carrying concealed weapons, the possession of firearms by felons, the mentally ill, and other dangerous people, laws forbidding the carrying of firearms into schools and government buildings and other public places, laws imposing the conditions and qualifications on the sale of firearms, such as background checks. All of these things, he has said, are perfectly consistent with the Second Amendment right. It's not different from other rights we have, like the First Amendment, where you have an absolute right to speak, but you don't have a right to set up a demonstration with loudspeaker system in front of the White House at 2 o'clock in the morning and keep the president's family up. We accept reasonable time, place, manner regulations with respect to all rights. Now, our colleagues invite us to believe the Second Amendment is some kind of policy straitjacket, but they won't read or quote the decision by Justice Scalia himself, who wrote the most elaborate defense and explication of the majority's view of the Second Amendment in D.C. versus Heller in 2008. Mr. Suplina, in 2005, Congress gave the gun industry unprecedented and unique immunity from civil lawsuits for crimes committed with their products. No other industry's got anything like that. Could you explain what that immunity protection means for the gun industry and how it has blocked common sense laws to end gun violence in our country?
Yes, Congressman, thank you. The law of PLACA, which you cite, has given near blanket immunity to the gun industry, and the result has really had a profound impact on what we know about the gun industry's role in gun violence, as well as any accountability for the industry. So acts that would have led to either litigation that would have exposed truths like happened with the tobacco industry, or accountability like happened in the automobile industry, safety practices that would have improved at these manufacturers because there was a risk of doing nothing, just simply does not exist with the gun industry.
What reckless marketing and sales practices has the gun industry engaged in because of this blanket of immunity that has been bestowed upon them?
Well, you know, there are several, and the marketing is getting increasingly reckless, increasingly desperate as the field gets more crowded, but also in terms of distribution practices. I've heard several times today about how easy it is for criminals to get guns, as if that's some act of magic, but these guns are all starting with gun manufacturers and gun sellers. We know that certain gun manufacturers are fueling gun shops that are selling disproportionately into illegal markets. And the gun industry is protected by PLACA because they say, oh, we're following the law. Well, the numbers speak for themselves.
Okay, and then finally, Chief, you were interrupted before. Well, what do you make of this claim that we shouldn't have laws governing, for example, a universal criminal background check because criminals don't follow the law? Is that an argument against having any law against murder, rape, assault, because criminals by definition don't follow the law?
The gentleman's time has expired, but the gentleman may answer.
So the universal background checks is a simple process that's going to have those that want to legally obtain their guns with their constitutional rights to obtain those guns. Criminals absolutely are not going to follow that. But the more guns that we keep flooding in without background checks, without proper adherence to get those guns through straw purchases and other manners, that's how we're flooding the market so that criminals can obtain those guns.
And Justice Scalia emphasized that there could be regulations on
Gentleman's time has
commercial sales.
expired.
Thank you. I yield.